And I don't know about your garden, but Longmeadow is certainly beginning to feel distinctly autumnal. Of course, it's no different here at Chelsea. Thankfully, autumn is a season when we have plants that put on an incredible display, and acers are perhaps the most spectacular of the lot, with their dramatic autumn hues. So it should be the perfect time for tree nurseries like Larchfields to shine, and we caught up with them a few weeks ago to see if their preparations were on track.
Seeing them germinate, you don't know what you're going to get, and I find that after 30 years, still very exciting.
In the spring, when they're all bursting with colour and new growth, they're beautiful. 30 years ago, I was given the gift of a bonsai, and Neil killed it.
Yes, and then for my birthday, you bought me a bonsai.
And you didn't kill
And
it.
actually, I didn't kill. And from there, we started selling bonsai. We hire village halls and sell them. And then from there on came the maples. Well, the thing about maples, Japanese maples, is that they've got spring colour, they've got summer colour, and they've got autumn colour. But it is something that just gets hold of you. I'm still excited every spring to see them breaking into leaf. If you want to be successful in growing your Japanese maples, they need one important element, and that is oxygen to the root system. So, tighten their pot, only repot to a slightly bigger pot, and if growing in the ground, you need old soil, which is well drained.
But the myth about them not liking the sun, some of them actually thrive and need the sun. The sun will give a lot of varieties bigger.
There are some risks when you're trying to put on a display of maples in autumn. We could load them on the lorry, get to Chelsea and find that all the leaves are dropped off when we get there. Bearing that in mind, we thought we'd better incorporate another element, which are the Japanese umbrella pine.
This is the Japanese umbrella pine, Sciadoptis verticillata. We're going to use them at Chelsea because they're evergreen. So if the maples don't actually come up to scratch, we've got the Japanese umbrella pines.
We're doing it in collaboration with Dave Cheshire.
So I think probably at this end you could do with the bigger trees and perhaps kind of a cluster of maples.
Yeah, if we do a little forest planting here.
You could do that, that would work well.
What we think is going to be the showstopper is going to be the large Niwaki tree provided by David, and that should be something that will really catch the public's eye.
So a Niwaki tree is basically a tree that's been trained in a way a bit like a bonsai tree, but in much larger scale, and they're intended to be grown in the ground as opposed to in a pot. And really they're designed to look like trees that have never been touched by man. They're designed to look like sort of stylised forms of what you'd find in nature, sort of trees that are grown in mountainous regions and things like that.
I think it's going to have real impact, and it's something that's never been done at Chelsea before, which is very exciting.
So we're pioneering.
I do have a little bit of apprehension about Chelsea. I think one of the reasons why we haven't exhibited there before is because of the stress. But I think the fact that we're actually doing it with Dave has probably made me feel a little bit more relaxed about things. We've been exhibiting at RHS shows for 28 years.
We've won 2 awards this year. We've worked together on the display at Hampton Court and at Tamton Park, and we've got gold at both.
We're hoping that Dave will be able to take it forward for the future. This is our first Chelsea, and because we're looking to retire from the shows, it will also be our last Chelsea.
I mean, a gold would be lovely. It would be nice as our swan song to go out with a gold.
People will say, well, I'm not bothered about the gold, but you are bothered about the gold, and that's all that really matters. But it's our last show, and we'll just enjoy it.
Well, Neil and Cathy have bought the display here. Their stand is up and running and looking superb. And the thing that I love most about these maples is the way that when they're slightly moist, they hold the drops of water and just quaver and slightly move with the weight of it. And even here in the pavilion, you do get that sense that a little breeze could just make the whole thing shimmer. Now I have to say, I put my cards on the table, that although these look superb, My own attempts at growing Japanese maples have been mixed at best. So it was fascinating to see really that there are a lot of myths about them. The key thing is probably a soil that's ideally about 6.5 pH, but any soil but drainage, and drainage equals oxygen. So that on my heavy soil at home, that's probably one of the main problems. And I'm certainly, when I see them here, inspired to have another go. And look how fantastic the Niwaki tree is. This is the Japanese yew, and I remember being in Japan seeing these things individually picked out by hand on a huge scale. And to see this sort of halfway between bonsai and a real tree exactly captures that Japanese spirit so well. And the two go well together. It's a good combination. Well, whether it's good enough for the judges or not remains to be seen, because although the judges came round this morning, their fate has been decided. They won't know until tomorrow. So their first and their last stand at Chelsea is in the hands of the judges. But I'm sure the audience and everybody who visits it will love it.
Over on the farm.